Hello everyone, this is Michael C. with the Competitive Rifle Podcast on the Firearms Radio Network. Today I'm going to do a review of the XLR Industries Tactical Butt Stock Lite. This is their new design. The design doesn't show up on their website right now. If you go to their website, xlrindustries.com, you'll see that the stock that they have on there has like a little dip in it versus this one is straight across. How I found these butt stocks is I decided it was about time to build a proper 3-gun rifle. So I was looking at the top competitors, many of which are with the Army Marksmanship Unit, and they're using a stock like this. They're using another version of it. And I originally wanted the full tactical butt stock, which if you go to their website, you can see it. It's got a bunch of other little holes down here. Once I explained to Kyle at XLR what I wanted the stock for, he recommended using this. He said if it doesn't work, just send it back and I'll get the other one that I wanted. They redesigned this tactical buttstock Lite with input from a lot of 3-gun and tactical shooters. It's actually 2 ounces lighter than the original buttstock that I was looking at, and I thought I'd give it a try. The first thing I noticed when it arrived, which it was shipped in a timely manner, I didn't have to call back and find out, where is this thing. It was shipped in a timely manner in a nice box, and when it arrived, I picked it up. It's got some heft to it, which is fine, because that's sturdy. I did a test fit on the threading in the front here, and it just fits perfectly with the Cobra Tactical billet lower that I'm going to be using, and Cobra Tactical made their billets to 0 mil spec. All mil spec parts, remember, have some sort of tolerance in there. Many manufacturers will make it to the middle, or as their tooling wears out, it'll go all the way to the top, and that's where you get some slop. With this, not at all. Fits nice and tight into that receiver. What I also noticed is on the back plate here, you can see it's not loose, it's tight. It doesn't move. So that's great machining. When I talked to Kyle, I had said, when I looked at the concept and I realized that this stock portion actually comes off the tube, I had mentioned that possibly I could take it off and put it on a standard stock AR buffer, because I haven't found yet any 3-gun components for the or the specialized, I should say, buffers or buffer springs for the carbine length. All the ones I found were for rifle length. I could be wrong. If I am, please let me know. And Kyle explained to me that wouldn't work, because this is a proprietary buffer tube that they have here, and we'll slide it on off, and you're really not going to be able to see it, but it's actually thicker than a regular mil stock buffer tube. And the reason why they do that is that these stocks are also designed to fit on their XLR chassis up to and including their 50 caliber. So very sturdy. If it's going to hold up to a 50 caliber, it will hold up to our little 223 and the 55 range we're going to be shooting for a 3-gun. So this stock, you can adjust this thing however you want it to. You've got this full length of pull here that you can move along the lateral limits here of the buffer tube, and then you can also just cant it however you would want to. But wait, there's more. They were very smart in setting up these bolts here that you have to use. They all work off a 5/32 Allen wrench, and I would suggest using a T-wrench once you get down there to torque it down. And I'm going to call Kyle, find out what they recommend for torque specifications, because many things like this, people start torquing them down, they over torque them, and things get bent and broke. Your cheek piece here, which there's a nice little rubber piece up here for your cheek. You can extend it up, extend it down, you can tilt it a little bit, however you want to run it. And we'll just secure that down there a little bit right now while we continue on. The security, let me rise it up here a little bit, because you do have to be able to access, until you get it adjusted. Once you get it adjusted, you don't need to. What he also did on this stock to make it very secure on here is you have 5 screws, 3 on the starboard side, 2 on the port side, or left and right, for you land lubbers. And these screws actually go into the small holes down here, which you probably can't see. But these aren't just holes. These holes are drilled and tapped. So I'm not going to waste your time taking out these 5 screws and moving it back and forth. But you can see how you can even get more adjustment from this stock by adjusting the length of pull on these screws. And because the way that they did it, once it screws in here, it's very, very tight and very secure, and I don't have much pressure on there, so that's holding it right now. So another advantage you have for length and pull here. The front of the stock, you can see here, it's angled. So what you'd be able to do if you're using a bag or shooting F-class is you can adjust your height just by riding it up and down there. Very nice, and it's solid. It's a solid piece of metal. There's a Quick-Detach sling mounts on either side. There's also screws on the bottom here. You could remove these, put on a monopod, or you could even put in a piece of rail, Picatinny rail on there if you had some pieces you wanted to put on and off. Probably not going to do that, at least right now. So let's continue on. If you can see the buttstock, it looks like 3 different pieces. Well, let's take that off. And the only reason why there's a gap right here is because I loosened up the buttstock before this video, because I thought you had better things to do and more beer to drink than just watching me unscrew the buttstock. And the buttstock takes a 3/16 wrench. But since you really don't have to put a lot of torque onto this or control it, just your standard Allen wrench is fine. So now we take off the back of the buttstock, and look what we have here. More adjustments. Go back to our 3/16 Allen wrench, and again, I already loosened some of these up so you didn't have to waste my time. Look at this. You can raise and lower your pull. But wait, there's more. In addition to the cant that you can do around the axis, as I was, of the buffer tube, you can also cant the buttstock itself. So if you want to have this straight and then cant it, you can do that and move it up and down. And you can access all the stuff very easily. You don't have to take off this piece in here. And in fact, if you wanted to, you could, don't know why you'd want to, you could take out that small little piece in there, mount that directly onto the stock. I wouldn't suggest that because you've got all these other options to work with. So that's a quick review of the XLR Industries Tactical Lite. Oh, I'm using the wrong screw. Forget, because so many of these pieces of kit, stock, equipment, whatever you call, will take different types of wrenches. You know, for instance, on the EBR, you've got 3 or 4 different Allen wrenches that you have to use. This one only takes this, the 3/16, except for the buttstock, which takes the bigger 5/16. And the machining on this is just wonderful. I mean, this is my first take on the video, first time I took it apart. Didn't have to apply excess torque to anything, didn't have to wiggle anything to get it on. Another thing I appreciated about this buttstock too is inside here it's very nice and smooth. Most, especially mill stock buffer tubes, they're rough inside. Feels a little bit like sandpaper, and I usually end up having to go and hone those things out. Increases the life of the spring, and helps the functioning of the rifle, cuts down a little bit on the twang, and helps speed up the cycling of the bolt. So that's what we have right there. XLR Industries. Can't wait to try this. We're going to get it mounted on the gun, and then we'll talk about it after we shoot.